Today we cover the smeltry, and this is not a simple, uncomplicated thing to make, but it's one of the most important things you got to make in Tinker so that you can start working with metal tools. So we'll start with grout. So to construct grout, you need to put sand, gravel, and clay, shapeless crafting into a crafting table, and that'll create grout, and then you smelt grout in a furnace, and that creates seared brick. You're going to want to make as much of that as you possibly can. You put 4 seared brick in a block formation, you get seared bricks, and we're going to craft the smeltry controller, the tank, a drain, and a faucet. I'm going to demonstrate those recipes right here. So this is how you create your drain. That's a basic recipe right there. So a furnace organization of seared brick creates the smeltry controller. The tank is just a little bit of glass. There we go. We need a faucet for our drain. And now we have the fundamental set of items to create a smeltry. So now you got your seared bricks. You have to create a 3x3 pattern on the ground. This is a multi-block structure, so you have to start with a base of a 3x3, and then you need to build a layer. So I'm going to do that right here. So 3x3x3. And I'll put one there. But then we've got to put our tank and our controller right there. Ta-da. And if you've done it right, the controller will be lit up like this. And I'm going to put my drain right here. And we're going to put the faucet on the drain. There we go. Now I'm going to start with a basin to demonstrate how you can use the smeltry to smelt ores. So a basin's kind of a cauldron design with seared brick. We'll put that under here. And did I put my lava in here? Yep, I got my lava along with some iron ore to demonstrate using the smeltry to smelt ore. So you take buckets of lava and you right click on your tank to give it some fuel. And I'm in creative mode, so I only need 1 bucket. The tooltip from NEI tells me how much I've got in there. It can hold about 4,000. Each bucket is about 1,000, and the controller has filled with about 250 milliblocks of lava. And we're going to take our ore down. So I've got about, there we go, 9 ore. You right click on the controller, and you get to place your ore into the smeltry, a lot like you would some type of crafting table. And then it uses lava as fuel to smelt the ore. Now, you would definitely want to do this as opposed to using a furnace to create your ingots, because you'll double your ore. Normally a furnace will give you 1 iron ingot per block of iron ore. But you're going to get 2 iron ingots per block of iron ore in a Tinker's Construct smeltry. So this is a basic ore doubling device. If I go up here, I can see that I've got iron smelting in the smeltry right now. And as soon as it's finished, I'll see the molten liquid iron. And I can demonstrate how to use a basin with a faucet and drain to create an iron block. Ta-da! Molten iron. So I've got my drain, I've got my faucet, I've got my basin. I right click the faucet, boom. 9 ingots pour into the basin to create 1 iron block. Wait a little bit for it to cool off. Click. There we go. Got a block of iron. I can craft that down into ingots if I prefer. And you'll notice I've still got 9 left. I only put 9 ore into the smeltery, but I'm getting 2 whole iron blocks out of it. So this is a device that increases the efficiency of your ore collection. So admittedly, draining the molten ore out of the smeltery is a little bit slow, but I can create as many of these basins as I care to. So why don't I do that right now? Put the smeltery drain, and there we go. Another faucet, another basin, another drain, another faucet, another basin. And now I can sort of drain 3 whole blocks of molten ore at once. We're also going to cover the casting table. The casting table is kind of an upside down cauldron design. And this device is the fundamental mechanism by which you create metal tools. So I'm going to place this over here. In fact, never mind. I'm going to place it right here. This will make things a little bit faster. So, how on earth do you create casts? Well, you need to have either gold ore, which I'll spawn in here briefly and throw into my smeltery, or aluminum brass, which, if I recall correctly, is aluminum and copper mixed together in the smeltery. That's another fundamental thing the smeltery does, is that it's able to create alloys by mixing 2 different types of ores together. I'm back at the parts builder here. So to create my casts from either gold or aluminum, brass, molten ore, I'm going to need parts to start with. So let's start with the pickaxe pattern. I'm going to place it in here. I've got a pickaxe head. I'm going to go with the binding. And we can use the stick for the rod pattern, I believe. My gold has smelted into the ore. Here's my casting table. I right click, I place the part on my casting table. I right click on my faucet, and the gold ore spills out, coating the tool and creating a cast. And this, my friends, is how you actually create metal tools. If I go back with my iron ore, place some into my smeltery here, you'll notice I still have some gold ore. I'm going to put some iron ore into here, have it smelt up. Alright, we can see that we have both iron and gold ore inside the smeltery right now. So, if I click on my iron ore, you'll see that the molten iron moves to the bottom of the smeltery controller. And now that's the ore that I've selected to be drained into the basins. However, if I right click on the faucet for the casting table, you'll see nothing comes out. Basically, in Tinker's Construct smelteries, if you're attempting to do something with a faucet that's just incompatible, in this case attempting to create something like a blank cast with iron ore, it just won't let you do it. Nothing's going to happen when I right click on it. However, if I place my pickaxe cast into my casting table and I right click on the faucet, kaboom. Ta-da! I have an iron pickaxe head now. I can right click to pick up my cast again. And now I'm going to create my binding cast. I can place the wooden cast, or any type of cast really. I could put a stone binding in here. I could put obsidian binding. Any type of actually created item can be used to create the cast. Doesn't matter. I just used wood because that was the cheapest material to start with. If I right-click on my casting table here, now notice that I still have iron selected as the primary ore to pour out of the smeltery drains. If I try to right-click on the faucet, it's not going to work. Why? Because I have to use either gold or aluminum brass as the metal alloy for casts. That's just the way it goes. So I go back over here, I right-click on the faucet, and there it goes. You'll notice I believe we started with 16 molten gold, and now we're down to 14 molten gold. So it's about 2 gold ingots per cast. So right-click, pick up my cast and my binding, and now I can create bindings from ores here. I can click back on the molten iron to move it to the bottom of the smeltery controller. Right-click the faucet, and boom, I've got an iron binding. My inventory is full, so I'm going to empty some tools out here. Pick up my cast. Right-click, put down the stick. Again, this should double as a rod template to create my cast. Right-click. Aha! Doesn't look like it actually does. It looks like I may actually have to construct a real rod, so I'm going to go do that. There's my tool rod pattern. Place that in here. Wooden tool rod. There we go. Again, can't really tell them apart, but apparently for casting it matters. So, boop, place that down, right click, and there it goes. Oops, I right clicked twice, so I stopped it. There we go, yeah. Uses at least 2 gold ingots to create the cast. There we go. And now I can create an iron tool rod. There we go. I can place casts inside pattern chests. Doesn't do that much good when I'm at a part builder, because I can't really use it, but they can be placed inside the pattern chests. The next thing I'm going to demonstrate is how to increase the size of the smeltery. As can be seen, I can smelt about 9 items at once because I have 1 layer to my smeltery, but I want to increase that, so let's go. Creating another layer here. If I right click on my controller, I now have a total of 18 ore that I can smelt at the same time. So I've demonstrated how to drain ore out of a basin by right clicking on the faucet on top of a basin, and that's all fine and good, but you want to make sure that you have precisely 9 ingots worth of molten ore available to you inside the smeltery. If you don't, and you attempt to drain into a basin without the proper amount of molten ore available, it'll let you do it, but it'll only partially fill the basin, and it won't solidify to a block for you to be able to extract. And I'm in creative, so 1 tap on this would just break this anyway, but even in survival mode, if I were to mine this block with a pick, I'd lose the molten ore that's inside of it. So if you partially fill a basin, you probably want to race back over here to the controller, fill in some iron ingots, wait for them to smelt, come back to your basin, and right-click your faucet to fill in the remaining molten ore inside the basin so you get a full block, if you don't want to waste the ore. Now, if you don't care about the wasted molten ore, you can just mine the basin to empty it and then replace it. But I can't, while that's there for right now, see I got the gold, I can't drain a mix of molten ore into the same basin. I have to be using the same type of molten ore. Even if that mixture were to somehow create an alloy, you can only create alloys inside the smeltery. You can't do it by mixing in a basin. So to get the molten ore in the most efficient manner, you want to always make sure that you've got at least 9 ingots in your smeltery before filling a basin. So if you do not have that much ore, I'll fill this basin all the way just to fill it out. But to demonstrate, we go back here, you'll notice that I've got 2 ingots in here, and I really want to get them out of my smeltery, but it's not enough to fill a basin. Well, I can create a cast for ingots by using any type of ingot in a casting table, selecting gold in my smeltery controller, right-clicking the faucet, 2 gold ingots to create the cast, right-click, take that out, and place my ingot cast into the casting table, go back to my controller, switch to my molten iron, of which I have 2 ingots, and right-click the faucet to drain the iron into the ingot cast. And now I can take individual ingots out of my smeltery. Ta-da! I've emptied all the iron out of my smeltery, and now I've got 10 ingots of gold remaining. So I've upped the smeltery a little bit. This is 4 layers high, so you do about 9 blocks per layer. So you're looking at being able to smelt 36 ore at once. You can place drains anywhere on any level of the smeltery, and they'll work regardless of sort of how full they are. Notice here I've got the gold lined up there, and even though the liquid doesn't look like it's anywhere near there, if I right click, gold drains into the basin. So one of the things I wanted to demonstrate is how you can add blood to the smeltery. If mobs or yourself fall into it and get hurt, and I'm going to demonstrate that really quick. I've actually already done it. You can see some of my blood here. I'm going to go in here. Oh, getting hurt. Oop. Whew, okay, I don't want to die. So there were 40 milliblocks of blood. Now there's 55. Pretty slow process to get blood. You need what I wanted to demonstrate was some coagulated blood balls. But you need 1,000 blood, I think, or 100 blood. So I'm just gonna see if I can spawn some cows. Probably. Let's do some cows. Let's see. There we go. There's the cow egg. Let's spawn some in here. So I'm melting some cows in my smeltery. So this demonstrates that to really get everything out of the smeltery that you want to leave the top open and possibly build it so that the core of the smeltery is underground, so that you can knock mobs into the opening up at the top to get the benefit of blood and various things. Just an FYI, I have sort of had bugs where I jump into here and then it won't hurt me. Right there it did, but when I first built this smelter and I dove into it, I wasn't getting hurt. And so if that happens, you either unload your chunk, logging out and logging in, or if you're playing single player, you can just quit, come back in. It seems to solve the problem. But every once in a while, I've noticed that either mobs or you won't take damage inside the smeltery. Just log out, let the chunk unload, log back in, and people will start getting hurt inside the smeltery again. Smelteries are pretty finicky. I don't think MDO's figured out all his bugs yet. Occasionally, the amount of molten ore in here will be a little bit off. So, but anyway, I believe it's 100 milliblocks of blood for that coagulated blood. 390. No, it's a little more than that. It's about 100 and I've been 450. Let's see about, yeah, it's about 160, I think, right? It's about right. Pick that up. Yeah, that's about right. It's about right. About 160 milliblocks of blood to create coagulated blood. Again, you can use that for various recipes. And let's see. There we go. There we go. We've got ourselves some dried coagulated blood, a coagulated blood drop. And believe it or not, as gross as it may seem, this is a fairly tasty snack. Ta-da! So I've got health boost for 1 minute, and this will cause me to generate health, as you can see down on my heart bar, even though my hunger is not completely full. And my health's not probably high enough to demonstrate it, but this will actually give you, I believe, 2 additional or 4 additional hearts beyond the typical 10, but only for the duration for which you have the health boost buff. So, but it's definitely a pretty good food. A lot of potential with coagulated blood drops. And again, you can't eat them in this regular coagulated blood form. You gotta throw them onto a drying rack so that they become edible. There we go. We'll push you in. How's that? There we go. There we go. Now we're creating some glue. Ah. Come on. So, yes, if you throw horses into the smeltry, you get glue. Believe it or not. In you go, baby horse. There you go. And you too. You too. So there we go. I've got about 2,000, almost 3,000 milliblocks of glue. And I believe if I click this on the casting table, I get my ball of glue. And again, this can be used in the same type of recipes that coagulated blood can be used in. It can be used to create the SDX explosion. And smelting glue will give you rubber. So it's another way to get rubber. Villagers create liquid emerald. So I now have some liquid emerald in my smeltery. Not a whole lot. Liquefied emerald. It looks like I might have, but it only says 1. Is that even like 1 block? Let's see if that's even a single block. I don't think it is. We'll try it. Nope, not even close. That was just a single emerald. So wow, you gotta throw a lot of these guys in here to actually get some emeralds. Whew. There we go. Okay, liquefied emeralds. That's still only that. I mean, if I don't get me wrong, but that's only about 12 emeralds, right? Oh, whoops. Gotta go over to my controller. Switch to emerald. And this should hopefully give me an entire emerald block. Boy, you take a while to fill. There we go. emerald block. I can craft that down into emeralds. So making a cast with an emerald allows me to get individual emeralds out of the smeltry. Alright, now I'm going to cover how to transport liquids inside and out of the smeltry. As you can see, I've put in some windows on my smeltry. These are known as seared glass, and they function as a valid wall for the smeltry, but they can also contain liquids, and we're going to use them shortly. But first I want to demonstrate how buckets can be used on casting tables to obtain liquids from your smeltry. So I've got molten aluminum selected inside of my smeltry. If I right click the faucet while the bucket is placed inside my casting table, the bucket slowly fills with 1000 milliblocks. That's exactly the unit of liquid that a bucket holds. I right click, I have it, and I can place it down just as I would any other liquid in Minecraft. And I've noticed that it functions a lot like water, but is about as deadly as lava. And if I, woo, as you can see, did a lot of damage to me here. I'm still on fire, and I'm probably going to be down to most of my hearts gone. Yep, there we go. All the way down to about 2 hearts. So this is pretty deadly in it, but it flows about as fast as water. But hey, I mean, you can bucket it wherever you like for decorative purposes if you like the coloration of the molten ore. Just be careful. I don't believe it's like lava in that it cause fires around grass blocks like this. I think if I placed it down right here, it's not going to cause any fires, so it's a little less deadly than lava in that circumstance. But now that I've created this bucket of molten ore, how on earth do I get it back inside my smeltry? If I go up to a drain and attempt to right click, it just, dumps a bunch of molten ore every which way, creates a molten ore source block. So that's no good. And you might think, you'd be wrong, but you might think that you could go up to the top of your smeltry, bloop, and just dump that in there and it would go inside and fill up, but nope, you'd be wrong there as well. The only way to get this molten ore back inside your smeltry with blocks provided by the Tinker's Construct mod is to craft these seared glass or seared window blocks, and they're functionally exactly the same. They just have slightly different recipes and slightly different looks to them. But essentially what I would do is I'd place a seared window down here. Notice that I already have a faucet placed, and I've got something known as a casting channel. And the recipe for that guy is not that. It's just kind of a boat pattern design with seared brick. So I've placed 3 of the casting channels going into a drain at the base. You could put the drain, you could put it at any point, but know that the faucet is going to have to be placed above the casting channel and at the end of it. If you don't create a configuration like this, if you put a faucet kind of in the middle of this, it'll sort of work, but then you're going to get liquid pouring back here and it'll get stuck. They're very finicky, so you definitely just want to be careful, create a design sort of like this. And now that I've got a bucket of my molten aluminum, if I right click into the tank, there we go, 1000 milliblocks dumped inside of my seared window tank. And now if I right click my faucet, it will empty exactly 144 milliblocks of aluminum ore into the casting channel, and the casting channel will empty into the drain, which will then fill into the main liquid repository of my smeltry. This is painfully slow. Right click, wait. As you can see in the NEI tooltip, it kind of shows me the volume of what's being transferred through the casting channel. And I can just sort of spam the right click, but this is going to take me a while to empty all the contents inside the smeltry. And so this is a little trick where we're going to double up our mods, and we're going to use another one of my favorite mods called thermal expansion. To speed up this process. Notice that I've got a drain right here, but I don't have anything from Tinker's construct set up on it. We're going to use these things called fluiducts from thermal expansion. Now, this is the non-opaque kind, which is a little bit harder to make, but you can use the regular opaque versions as well with no consequence. So I'm going to throw down my tank, and incidentally, one of the things I forgot to mention is that when you break these tanks and they have liquids inside them, they preserve their liquids. So if I break it like that, I now have a seared window which has 316 milliblocks of aluminum ore. It says aluminum molten right there. We're going to place that down, and I'm going to connect a fluiduct to my drain. It creates a connection like that because it knows that it's an area where fluids can go inside. I'm going to use the crescent hammer from thermal expansion. This is a very easy thing to craft. It's just a couple iron ingots and a tin ingot in the middle. We're going to right click the end here, which is going to make this end of the fluid duct an extractor. And we have one more component, and that's we have to provide a redstone signal to this. And now if you craft a pneumatic servo and place it into the end of the fluid duct, you can then right click with an empty hand to customize this so you don't need a redstone signal. But this is a very easy thing to do here, and this lever is a little bit cheaper than a pneumatic servo. So right click and boom, in no time at all we drained all of the contents of this tank into our smeltery. So that's a little piece of advice if you ever find yourself with a bunch of liquid that you need to try to get into your smeltery. It is absolutely painful to do it with what Tinker's construct provides you. You literally just have to sit here, click, 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 with about 1 ingot's worth of liquid for, gosh, it seems like, 15-30 seconds at least to pour it inside of your smeltery. So mixing and matching mods a little bit, you can use thermal expansion. And while I'm talking about thermal expansion, I'll plug their strong boxes, which are wonderful chests. They've got a security mechanism, so for multiplayer I can restrict access to just myself or a list of people. And then with the crescent hammer I can right click, shift right click, pops it off right away, and all the items inside the chest remain inside. Boom. I can place it down later. Everything's there. One of the creatures that I didn't get to documenting in my video were Endermen. If you manage to hurt Endermen with your smeltery, you'll get Resonant Ender. It's pretty difficult to do that because, if you try to push them in, chances are you'll end up looking at them and making them aggressive. And as soon as they get hurt, they'll generally teleport out of your smeltery. But you can smelt ender pearls in your smeltery, and it'll create resonant ender. And the best of my knowledge, Tinker's doesn't do much with this liquid, but thermal expansion does. So essentially, this is just another way to create resonant ender. I believe you need either a magma crucible or a liquid transposer in thermal expansion to create resonant ender. So this might be a more convenient way to make it. I think that's going to do it for this video. It proved to be way longer than I thought it was going to be. I just kept forgetting all the details that the darn smeltery has. It's not an uncomplicated part of the mod. In fact, it is the most complex portion of the Tinker's Construct mod, but it's arguably also one of the most important. So it deserved the time it got, and we'll see you next time.